Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another edition of That Scuffed Up, episode 7, with your host, Mr. Justin Lee, and my partner on the other side, Stephen Hayden. How are you doing yourself, my friend, today?
We're doing good. Another good week in the books. Looking forward to continuing on. We're starting to get to the meat of the season. Schedules are starting to get loaded. People are starting to get busy. Some people are getting out of school and things like that, or some people are still loaded with work in the league. It's become a very busy time for a lot of people. So, hopefully to give you guys a little bit of a break from your regular lives and just to listen in to us talk about some OC wiffle ball.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we love playing this sport, is having that availability to go out and have something to clear our minds and have fun with other people, which is the goal of Orange County Wiffle Ball ultimately. Like you said, a lot of people are very busy. We're just right around that cusp of summertime, so going to start seeing some beach weather hopefully after a long season of rain. I know for myself personally, just finishing up school here with this week. Still got some finals to go through, and congratulations to all the people who are graduating from college or high school, wherever you're coming from. I'm not sure, maybe we have some graduates in OSU football, anything like that, but that's a different story. We got a lot of stuff to talk about today. Some few announcements about the show. If you're not following the Hunky Dory Sports Show Instagram, I know that has been kind of quiet for a while, but if you're not following it, what are you doing with your life? Get over there. Follow that page right now. We're going to be trying to do some more inclusive stuff with that account. Do some polls on there about certain sports if you are interested in sports. I'm sure you are if you listen to the show and play with football. I know myself, I personally would like to talk about some things on that Instagram as well. It's been hard to kind of run a different show for other sports because of just how busy, everyone's schedule usually is. But working on that, and then I'm sure Steven would love to share some of wiffle ball stuff on there. So we'll have that going at some point coming up here soon, and by the time this video comes out, maybe the first poll will be up there. So if you're not following it, head over there right now, follow that page. And we'll have a lot of interesting polls to be up there and to be had with. Other things, I'm working on a intro video for this show to make it a little bit more pizzazz and a little bit more little spice up here, spice there. And then for any new the players, usually it's very hard for a lot of the players to kind of soak in like the rules of the game itself. So I am myself with a couple of other people going to be working on putting together a rules video for OC Wiffle Ball to kind of talk about every single rule that you're going to see, maybe every situation you might find in the game of Wiffle Ball. Share it with your people, when that comes out. Keep an eye out for that. That should be coming up pretty soon at some point. But for those of you who are new to the league, it'll be helpful to you guys. And for those of the people who are in the league, maybe you might find some things you didn't know about the rule book in OC Wiffle Ball. But,
yeah. Maybe there might be a pitching tutorial coming across as well, especially for a lot of the new guys. I've had some questions get asked to me about how I throw some of my certain pitches, because my arsenal's changed a lot and developed over the past couple of years, being in different leagues and things like that. So there's a possibility of that coming around as well. Working with possibly talk to a few different people to get that recorded sometime. So that may be a possibility as well, just to help people get a better understanding of how to throw the wiffle ball and things like that, being brand new.
Yeah, I like the idea. And shameless plug, if you don't follow the Hunky Dory Sports Show Instagram, you want to see some of Steven's nasty pitches and his tutorials, go follow that page. Might help your game out there if you're on a team who wants to get some dubs this season, if you know what I'm saying. Let's move on to our usual segment of the breakdown, where we talk about the previous week of games. We've already gone through 3 weeks, surprisingly. We're about to jump in here to week 4 at the time of this recording. So a lot of different outcomes that we saw. Steven will be talking about that mostly. We saw some interesting trades between 2 different teams. But let's start off the day with week 3 games. We've got the LA Wiffles of OC taking on Wiffle D's.
LA Wiffles of OC ended up taking this one 11-5. As in going to this, currently do not have all the scores. I was not able to acquire them from the books. But I do know this one because this is my team. LA Wolves were able to jump out to an early 8-0 lead thanks to back home runs, including a grand slam from Stephen Hayden, a solo shot from Jordan Drexler, and a solo shot also from Justin Lee. That got the LA Wolves on the board pretty quickly. And overall, the LA Wolves were able to hold Wiffle D's to a few hits. I think they got one homer. And after that, the Wolves kind of calmed down a little bit on the hitting side. Stephen Hayden did end up going 4 for 4 with 2 singles, 2 homers, and also had 2 walks. Got on base every single time. Ethan Lee had his first home run of the year. Jordan Drexler went 3 for 5 with a walk, and Justin Lee in the first inning had a double and a home run as well. And then a lot of walks from some of the middle guys, just getting on base. I mean, but after the first inning, Wiffle D's was able to keep most of the other Wolves of OC quiet, but just that first inning hurt them.
Yeah, absolutely. Wiffle D is a very interesting group of guys. They had their families out there during that game, and it was fun to see. We love to see it. Love seeing everybody bring out the kids, show the support for everybody. And they're a pretty fun group of guys. We had a pretty fun time with a certain pitching sequence that happened during the game, which is interesting. Maybe I'll put that video up later on, but. Yeah, Stephen Hayden, average of 7.37 now in the season. Got the most hits on the team with 14, 4 home runs, and Jordan's continuing his hot start. Like you said, now at a 6.47 batting average with a 2.059, slugging 2.785 OPS, and a whopping 7 home runs to start off the season. Tied right now with Shaden Hendrickson for home runs at the very moment, but a lot of big numbers out there, but
yeah, it's been it's very much been a lot of the Steven and Jordan show so far. They've combined for over half the team's hits just between the two of them on a team of 7. I think they're looking for possibly a little more production out of the rest of the LA Wolves. We'll see if they want to make a deep playoff run and defend their World Series title, but right now those two are turning on all cylinders, and also pitching wise, they've I believe they're third in runs allowed as a team, so they're doing the job over there as well.
Yeah, Stephen Hayden, Jordan Drexler are holding down the 4. Mr. Justin, or yours truly, with a whopping 180 ERA. Definitely helping out on those stat lines. But enough of that. Let's move on. We got the Brothers of Bash, who are returning from their week 1 bye. Had a game in week 2. Came into this one against the Beach City Bombers team, who was pretty hot. And might I add, they came in with some pretty snazzy jerseys this week. Look pretty nice over there. I like the look and the color. Very diverse with the color choices.
Yeah, they showed off the new jerseys this week. It was a good sight to see. Something different, a different design we hadn't really seen too much of before. We've seen like the LA Wolves OC jersey is more of a color jersey, but this one really incorporated the beach aspect of their team, which was cool to see. And it's one of those, you look good, you feel good, you play good, and they ended up playing good and beating the Brothers of Bash. Last year, a playoff team so far at this point have started 0-2. Tyler Moore with two homers and a triple, and Zach Moore with 2 homers and 2 singles. Doing a lot of the hitting and pitching for their teams, and they've been able to get off to a hot start and start off 3-1 as well. Like I said, I don't know the scores for the rest of the games, but I do know the winners of these games. So it was another good showing for the Peach City Bombers, who are really showing that they're a team to be reckoned with once it comes to the playoffs if they're able to maintain that.
Yeah, they're kind of the big surprise of the season. Obviously, coming off a really interesting start last season, and now jumping all the way to the very top
Hold on. Oh, I've just been sent some. I've actually just been sent some official scores. Actually,
Oh
uh,
wow! All right, we'll check this out.
this is a as we're recording. That's why I'm looking down at my phone here. The Beach City Bombers versus Brothers of Bash. It was a 14-0 game.
Wow. Well, that kind of
So
explains it. Yeah.
yeah. So the pitching of Tyler and Zach was able to hold off the Beach City Bombers, who they have a strong hitting team, but just couldn't find it in game one.
Well, I mean, they put up 14-0, like you said, right? And I think only 4 of them were present at that game during that day. Obviously, the Moore brothers were there, and they're leading their team in hitting stats and pitching stats. So, um, really flipping things around from a season ago. Crazy enough, but hey, look out for them. They're going to be dangerous. And if they don't have the target on their back already, they probably do now after talking about them from this podcast. So, they're
Yeah, it's still very early in the season.
yeah, absolutely.
There's a lot of there's a lot of season to go with. That's only their second game so far, so they still got plenty of time. And as we'll see later on, they still have plenty of time, and they were able later to get their first victory of the season. But we'll talk more about that later.
And I think it's a good thing that there's a team that is very competitive, especially, with a lot of other teams moving on, like the Wise Guys and the Diablos. Like, those were competitive teams that were in the league a season ago. And to see the Beat City Bombers being able to step up to that position so far in the early goings, as we've seen, looking pretty good. I mean, why not, right? Let's have more competitiveness. I like it.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, moving on. Now we have the Bad News Dingers and the Avocados, always rocking that sick jersey that they've got.
Yep, and you got another high scoring game there. The 4 seed versus the 6 seed. Actually, in a little bit of an upset, the Bad News Dingers were able to pull off the victory, 13-11. We know the Avocados are always in high scoring games, and I believe they were missing Dan Lukac, who is their second number 2 pitcher. So they possibly had a little bit of struggles there. So, but 13-11 win, good for a team like the Bad News Stingers to get a lot of offense going. You have got Joey Reese had a homer. Brett Humphrey had 2 homers. I apologize, I'm going to say this wrong. Alan Yakovlev. I'm sure I messed that up. I apologize. I can only apologize. He had a homer and a single as well in the game. And then Avocados, Harvey Higger had a home run. Those are some of the highlights, but overall, it was a great job from the Bad News Stingers to be able to hold. First off, to hold the Avocados to 11 runs, and then to be able to secure a victory, moving up to 2-2. Really, they're starting to try to push for a playoff spot. And as we see in the most recent standings, I believe they're up there. I believe they're in the 7th seed right now, if I'm not mistaken. They're the 7th seed right now.
Yeah.
So they're right there at 2-3, which they won this game to go to 2-2, and later on there'll be a game where they lose to go to 2-3. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're. I mean, the run differential is not like amazing, but they're like right in the middle area of where that should be for most teams that are landing in that middle spot. This is a weird differential between the top 4 teams and the rest of the league. Interesting with the run differential numbers, but like flipped weirdly. But let me go back to, I think, Alan Yakoviv.
Yeah, we if you're listening, Alan, we apologize.
Yeah, we're gonna work on that. I mean, if we mess it up, please do correct us if you ever see us. I mean, Brothers of Bass have Brian Zedzkowski. I think that's how you say that. So, we'll work on that.
Yeah, good luck.
That's a personal thing that we gotta work on. But no, Avocados back in the right position where they should be now, fighting for a playoff spot if the season were to end today. But they're in a pretty good spot in the standings so far. Bad News Dingers are trying to get up there. Obviously, they sit in the middle of the pack right now, but it's still early. Anything can change. But moving on, Bad News Dingers played their one game, but they had a doubleheader. So they played the Brothers Abash after. So Bad News Dingers versus Brothers Abash.
Yeah, Brothers of Bash coming off a 14-0 loss. They were able to bounce back against the Bad News Stingers team who had just beat the Avocabros. Brothers of Bash ended up winning 9-7 in this game. It's a good bounce. It was their first win of the season for them, and that's something we like to see. We don't like to see too many. You never like to see a team not win a game at all. But I mean, and no one ever thought that the Brothers of Bash would not win a game the whole season. But it's good to see it. It's good to see it happen, as we'll see later on. As of now, every team in the league has a win, so everyone has the capability of beating at least one team in the league. So, but it was a good bounce back from Brothers of Bash. Interesting to see some of their pitching. I noticed Nick Hedges pitching a lot more, being a little bit inaccurate at times, and I'm curious to see how their pitching goes as we go into the future. I feel like that could possibly be their downfall, because they have the offense. I mean, Nick can hit. Actually, both Nicks can hit. Both Agrusa and Hedges. Brian can hit as well. I'd be interested to see the pitching and see how that affects them, because I mean, they gave up 14 runs in the first game. In their game last week, they gave up 13 runs, I believe, and then this game they still gave up. They still give up 7 runs, so we'll see how that affects them in the future.
Yeah, something to keep an eye on. I mean, Nuka Caruso is holding down the fort for that team for the most part in terms of pitching numbers. 14 strikeouts, 6.67 ERA, 9.33 strikeouts per 9 innings. I mean, their team has kind of lost some of their numbers from a season ago, but having Nick Hedges is a great addition to that roster. If he can figure out the pitching, who knows? Maybe they're right back in that playoff conversation like they did a season ago.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and also speaking of Nick Agrusa, if you guys are curious and go onto the Orange County Football website, some of the awards have been put up for the spring 2023 season. They're not fully done. Some of these are still awards from the fall. But for example, on the website you have. You have the MVP from the spring, True Hendrickson, is on there. The Silver Slugger Award, Stephen Hayden, is on there, and also the Manager of the Year, Nick Agrusa Award, is on there. The others are still being updated as we speak. Hopefully, maybe by the time this is up, they'll be updated officially. So, but those are up there as well. But it'll be interesting an interesting start, and it'll also be interesting to see if the Bad News Dingers are able to make a run. They've been out of the playoffs the past couple of years. It'll be interesting to see if they'll be able to get in there, as they're now 2-3, and as we mentioned earlier, they're sitting in the 7th seed.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to backtrack a little bit, talking about the awards. We officially have our first Hall of Fame inductee of OC Wiffle history. Mr. Ben Cody Spotty has been officially inducted as the class of 2023 from the Wise Guys. You can check that out on the OC Football's page under Media and Hall of Fame. You'll find Ben Cody Spotty's entire history on that page and some quotes from him as well. But great to see such a great player inducted into the Hall of Fame. The first one, who better than Mr. Ben, of course. He basically started the league when it started, correct?
Yeah, he was around when it first started. He won the first ever World Series. He was a Cy Young winner. He was also a Hank Aaron Award winner, I believe. Yes, he was. And then also in the World Series this past fall, was the defending champion until this past spring when the other Wiffles of OC won it. We've talked about this. There may be some more Hall of Fame members coming soon. Even some that are currently playing right now, that have just been crucial to the league, such as maybe a guy like Anthony will be put in there sometime soon. That might be part of that class, and there may be some other guys that end up going in there. So we'll see what happens with that. I think that's a neat little addition to the guys who are around, have success, or a benefit to the league, and that'll be interesting to see who else possibly gets added. I mean, I'm sure Anthony will get added in at some point, but I mean, who knows? We could have a guy like True get added in at some point. Maybe a guy like me added in at some point. We'll see. It all depends.
Yeah, it depends, when we ultimately decide to either leave the league or continue playing. Yet to be seen. But Ben had some really good numbers in his 5 seasons being part of the league. 447 career average and 54 home runs in total. Obviously, was one of the first ones to hit that 50 home run mark. And yeah, congratulations to Ben Cody Spotty for making it to the Hall of Fame. Now,
Yeah, absolutely.
Now let's move on back to our regular scheduled program. We have the Trash Pandas taking on the Angel Hernandez Strike Zone.
Yeah, it was this was one of the better games of the night. It was a good battle between these teams. Trash Pandas coming to this 1-2. Angel Hernandez Strike Zone coming in 0-3. And Angel Hernandez Strike Zone actually coming out with their first victory of the season, winning this game 8-7 on a walk-off walk. So I was talking to some of the guys from the Angel Hernandez Strike Zone. A lot of them have developed I've seen what this league is like, coming out here kind of as guest players, I should say as free agents, I should say. Just coming out here to try to test the experience, and so far they've been loving the experience. They've really enjoyed coming out here, and it's good. It's good for them to finally get their first win as well. That's a big thing for them. And guys for the Trash Pandas, Andrew Swanson had a single, a homer. Blake Fitzgerald had a single and a homer in this game. Pete Cordy had 3 singles in this game. And then for a team like the Angel Hernandez Strike Zone, I should say. You had Connor Stewart getting 2 singles and a home run in this game. It's been a good. Connor Stewart is off to a good start, as well as only had 9 at bats, but already has 4 hits in those 9 at bats. So he's starting to he's getting his career he's getting his wiffle ball career going here. Already has 2 home runs on the year. I think for the future, the Angel Hernandez Strike Zone could be a good team. There's a lot of tough competition in this league, but maybe they're a season or 2 away from starting to be a contender. So we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, it's a good confidence builder that they finally have a win under their belt for the first time. So it's good to see that happened for them, especially because they definitely needed it for just to build an added confidence for their team. And no better way to play it against another young team of guys as well, right? So
yep,
great for them. Moving on to the next game. I think I seem to lost my notes here, if I am not mistaken.
Next game was the Goat Hill pitches versus Whoosh, and this is the last game of the 7:25 slot. Goat Hill pitches, which is Anthony's team, versus Whoosh, which is Donald LeCompte's team. Goat Hill pitches ended up taking the victory here, 13-7, getting their 2 winless teams so far on the year. But Goat Hill pitches get their first win of the year. Matt Hornich going off with 3 home runs, and they finally started to find a little bit of a groove here. Newcomer Shelby Bayan, I believe that's how it's said. Newcomer coming in for the Goat Hill pitches, pitching a little bit as well. So, and from what I saw for a first time, it didn't look too bad. It looked better than I did my first time pitching. So back when I was starting to learn in 2018, 2019, things like that. Anthony Agusa picked it up hitting. We had mentioned before he was having a little bit of struggles at the plate, but was able to get a couple homers on the night. Just really get on base more. That's kind of something we see a lot from him. I think last year he had something along the lines of like a 560 average or something like that, but he's gone up to 348 now. But he still got some work to do hitting wise, but pitching wise he looked very good in both the games they played, and it's good to see them get the victory.
Yeah, Matt Hornich is holding on to literally no given up runs on his ERA right now, so we'll see if that sticks around or not. Whoosh, we'll play them tomorrow. So great to play against team of former OC LA Wiffles OC players on there, and a lot of familiar names, of course.
Yeah, man. Blue Shops, as we mentioned before, I mean they've kind of had to face a lot of the tough teams first. I mean, you could argue that playing Anthony's team was not one of the tougher games. But I mean, as we mentioned before, which we'll talk about more later, they play the defending champions this next week. They also play the Avocados, who hit a lot. They've had a tough go around in the beginning of the season. But Nick Ushoff in his return to the league has been great for them, especially hitting for them. He's got a 571 average with a 700 on base percentage. Already has 5 homers on the year. Has had a great start to them. I need to make an announcement. I need some trade value back for Nick. We need to figure that out, Donald. Because I lost you. I lost Min. I lost Owen. No, sorry, I didn't lose. I lost Nick.
Ryan.
I lost Ryan Miller, who wasn't there this week, but is on your team. I played some baseball with Owen. I need some compensation quick.
I need some compensatory picks.
We need to get the draft going, and you give us every single pick for every single year. Maybe we got to sneak a guy in there or something. Who knows? Something seems a little fishy.
It kind of. I will be announcing that I'm going to Whoosh next. No, just. It's funny because it's like it reminds me of like how the Dodgers have a lot of players on the Red Sox. With a lot of those.
Yeah, with like the Kenley Jansen, the Justin Turner, stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it was reminding me of. But yeah, I'm gonna have to get some compensation for that. But hey, I mean, it kind of worked out. You know, we got our championship, and it looks like they're having fun on their side of things. Especially with Nick Yusuf coming back, which is interesting because he was a big hitter for us like 2 seasons ago. Now he's back and he's already raking. So, but you know, we got our raters. We got you and we got Jordan, which is great. So.
Yeah.
Anyways, I do want to apologize real fast to the Goat Hill pitchers, who I thought a few episodes ago was a new team, but turns out this is Anthony's team. So apologies to the commissioner. I did not know you guys switched the name on me like that.
Great.
But I guess here we go. Goat Hill pitchers. Speaking of the next game, Purple Huskies versus the Goat Hill pitchers with the Purple Huskies remaining undefeated.
Yeah, this was a good battle actually. Anthony was doing this thing on the mound. He was pitching pretty well. Purple Huskies came away with a 7-2 victory at the end of the day. It was a close game, especially for a team like the Purple Huskies, who have scored a lot of runs to start off the year. And they've had a lot of good offense going. They were held a little bit, but they were still able to get. They were still looking at they're still looking at undefeated record, just not scoring as many runs so far this year. But overall, it was a good game from them, and a win is a win. Hayden Hendrickson had 3 triples in the game, something very unusual to be able to get the ball out there, but then just not enough to be a homer. True Hendrickson with a single and a homer. Then Nick Escalera with 3 singles and a homer as well. We had also Drake Hoffman's having a great year at the plate. He's had some big improvements from the past couple years. Leading with a 414 average of 595 on base percentage, and also is leading the league with 8 homers on the year. So he's had a great start to the year. Just ahead of his teammates Hayden Hendrickson and True Hendrickson in the home run league for the leads for the league. So they continue off with a good start. I mean, it's one of those. How long are they going to go undefeated? Is there a team like maybe like the MS Warriors or they already beat the Beach City Bombers, or maybe the LA Wolves of OC that are going to be able to take them down? I mean, we saw one team last year go 9-0. Lose their last game, and then they get knocked out. They lose 2 of their 3 playoff games. So it'll be interesting to see how they do.
I like rubbing the salt a little bit there. Anyways, yeah, Purple Huskies holding the league lead in home runs combined for their team. Drake is having a huge turnaround season from one season ago, so I'm sure he's a happy dude over there, seeing happier trails. I mean, in comparison to his brother, who is doing pretty good, but the stat line is that Drake is having a pretty good slugging season so far. And I mean, they're good. They're literally a super team right now. So yeah,
Yeah, they have as a team, they have a combined 614 on base percentage, which is unheard of. It's high, it's easily higher than any team we see here. They've had quite the good start for the year. So let's see if anyone's able to stop that offense.
yeah, 100%. And like you said, it's gonna come down to the fight between the top seeds when that happens, or in the power rankings, I should say, like taking on the MS Warriors or taking on LA OC. They already beat City Bombers, so that was a big matchup that we saw, and
Yep.
obviously, beat City Bombers take their first loss of the season. But yeah, let's talk about a different team on the other side who is still undefeated on the year. So the MS Warriors taking on the Trash Pandas and completely blowing the entire field away with 16-3.
Yeah, had a 16-3 victory. The Trash Pandas unfortunately didn't have the best night. They lost their first game on a walk-off walk. And then you have to go face the number one team. That's a very tough battle to face. Dylan Hoffman continuing a great offensive season. 2 singles, a double and a homer, just a triple away from the cycle. Garrett Munoz with a homer. And Kyle Froome having a big day up there with three doubles and 2 homers during the game. And as we said, it was a 16-3. It was a 16-3 round of the Trash Pandas. Dylan did give up a run, so now his ERA is all the way up to 0.6. He's pitched 20 innings and allowed 2 runs, which is still ridiculous. But he did. The Trash Pandas were able to get a run off of him. I believe it might have been. I believe it was an error. I think they had a runner on third base with 2 outs. There was a ground ball hit, and it went right through the legs. I can't. Maybe it was Kyle. I can't remember who it was, but it went right through someone's legs, and that's how they got Dylan gave up his run. So unlucky for him, but that's just the way it works sometimes. But it's the same issue we had with the Purple Huskies. That matchup, when either they play when the MS Warriors play either the Purple Huskies or when they have their playoff rematch versus the LA Wolves of OC, it will be interesting that beach day, which we'll talk about more as we probably next week. That'll be very interesting. That'll have a lot of playoff implications.
Yeah, absolutely. We're kind of approaching the middle part of the season, coming up here soon. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see where their team stands as well. I mean, we want to see the big matchup between the Purple Huskies and MS Warriors. And speaking of which, I'm going to surprise announce that next week's games, we will be bringing back the game of the week, not on the field in terms of, but doing over a live stream of a game for the 8:30 at center field. Just wanted to put that out there. We're going to be bringing those back. And hopefully maybe we might see a big matchup. Maybe we won't. We'll see. But moving on, we got our final game of the day between Woosh and Angel Hernandez Strike Zone, who came off that walk-off but could not put it away against Woosh, who put up 15 runs on them.
Yeah, 15-6 victory for Woosh. Woosh get their first win on the year. Donald Lecomte with three homers in the game. Had a big game for them. It seemed whenever I would go over there, I was considered their bad luck charm because I walk around recording videos sometimes that I send to Anthony, and then Anthony can choose whether he wants to post it or not. But it seemed every time I went over there, they were striking out or getting out, whereas every time I left, they were getting hits, getting walks, getting on base and stuff. I did get one nice video of Donald hit an absolute, probably the farthest homer I've ever seen him hit. And I was able to get a video of that one, but they were able to bounce back and Angel Hernandez strike zone coming off their walk-off win. They just weren't able to handle Whoosh. I mean, Whoosh does have a lot of experience, and I think they could be a team that sneaks in, but they need to. I think this week is going to be key for them. If they lose both their games this week, it's going to be very much an uphill battle. They're already sitting in the 10 seed. If they go down to 1-5, it's going to be a very hard uphill battle for them to be able to battle back. The top 4 teams seem very likely they're going to be in the playoffs, but it's that 5 and 6 that are still possibly open for teams to come in there. So they really need to get some wins this week, and as we'll mention a little later, they got some hard competition coming up.
Yeah. Speaking of big home runs, I think I remember seeing someone hit a home run over the fence up in right field, and I can't remember who it was, but whoever that was, congrats! I've never seen anyone manage to hit a wiffle ball out of the park as it is. So that was interesting that I saw. Was there any big moment that you saw in any of those games that kind of surprised you?
I think the biggest surprise of the week was the improvement from the Angel Hernandez strike zone. I saw a lot of improvement. I spent a lot of time talking to some of them. They've talked about how much they've just enjoyed being out there. How 4 of them have already built their own strike zone and stuff, and have been practicing at home. Just learning to try to get better, understand the pitching, understand the movement of the ball, things like that. That was the biggest surprise for me, and I think that's the kind of this isn't the most over competitive league. We like to keep it open and friendly, but we do appreciate it when we have people like that who want to learn, and oftentimes the people who want to learn are the ones that come back. So. And continue to keep playing. So those are the ones that we that's what we like to see, especially from the new players, because we know as a league that we're doing a good job in introducing the concept to people and keeping people engaged throughout the whole season.
Yeah, it's good. It means we're sending the right message to a lot of those guys and telling them hey, it can be fun, but it can be better for winning championships and stuff like that. So we love seeing the competitiveness of other teams, and especially the newer guys who are picking it up, and it means we're able to encourage newer players to adopt a lot of the skills that you see out there on YouTube now. It's becoming a bigger sport now, and we like to see it, especially here in the Orange County area where there's not a lot of people really playing wiffle ball as it is compared to other places you've seen yourself out in the Midwest or on the eastern side of the states, for that matter.
Yeah, exactly. We're trying to build something here in an environment where it's one of those people don't think there's a demand, but it's once they have it, they realize that this is pretty cool, and there is a demand for it. I mean, there are a couple of leagues going on around here as well that do the same thing that we'll talk about later. But this is the only one that I know of that's open to the people, that's open to anyone to join. We try to keep it that way, to try to let everyone enjoy their time. So
yeah, it's good to have that that route to play in a league like this where you have no borders to join. I know a lot of other leagues usually have a combine system, and then a draft or something, or they just pick you out of a group that they see from a scouting thing. I know you wanted to talk about how SoCal Wiffle Ball had their player combine video come out on Sunday, and I know you had some stories to tell about that, if you wanted to kind of go on a little tangent here.
Sure, we can do that now. So I also have been involved with another league that takes place in Fullerton. It's called SoCal Wiffle Ball, run by a guy named Dustin Staggs. It was a guy younger than me. Has been playing for a while. Decided a couple years ago he wanted to start up a league. Last year is the first time he started recording it. This is their first year. They're really having a draft and having people come in that aren't necessarily like just friends that are just local and stuff. They have some people, some teams have brought out that say, hey, we want to see how this guy does on this day. But we went out there. I went out there, recorded, played on this day. I did pretty well. I did pretty well overall. My pitching was pretty good that day, and that was before I had an understanding of that style of play, which I have more of an understanding now, especially with the pitching aspect. I'm throwing a lot harder in that league. You have a different type of wiffle ball in that league. You have a scuffed wiffle ball, which causes the ball to move differently and move more in some instances. We'll see if I was able to impress a team. I believe their draft video comes out next week. So there's I believe there's a good chance I get drafted, but we'll see what happens in terms of that. From what I was hearing, from what I heard from Dustin that day, it sounds like there's a pretty good shot that I will get drafted. So we'll see what happens into which team that goes to. That video will come out next Sunday. Usually it's Sundays at noon he releases them. So like the 21st around noon. If you guys are interested in just following my journey with that as well. There are a couple other former OC wiffle players in that league. One of them being a captain of one of the new teams, PJ Gordon, who was the All-Star Game MVP from the spring 2022 season, as well as another possible draftee that I won't mention because I don't want to spoil it for the video. So that was a that was a pretty fun time to be out there that day. I played in one of their tournaments. I did well against the host team. Unfortunately, we just lost in a 5-inning game, which these games normally go 3 innings in the tournament style like this. But it was a very fun experience being out there on this combine day, and you can see some of the highlights and things like that, and you can get an insight from some of the other managers on what they're looking for in their players, if they brought out players for a certain day. So if you guys are interested, check it out.
Yeah, it was fun to do that tournament back in the wintertime. And I should mention there is a tournament happening on June 3rd for SoCal Wiffle Ball. So if any guys who are interested want to go out and represent Orange County Wiffle Ball, go ahead and sign up for it. It's a different atmosphere. There's a lot of different teams. We've seen some teams with slower pitching styles because that's kind of the rules that they follow. SoCal Wiffle Ball has a little bit more different rules. They allow tape on the bat. You know, you can throw the ball a lot faster than we do here in OC Wiffle Ball. But it's a little bit tougher competition. The rules are different. Like, you know, getting hit with a pitch, it means 2 balls in their league. Most games are about 2 innings, correct? Or is it 3?
Yeah. Like for their tournaments and stuff, like the group play is like 2 innings, and then the elimination style is all 3 innings, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, we see everything. Like, I know we talked about on the show before, but like even like middle school kids can come out and freaking destroy a team. And then you can have some dad with like his 2 twin sons, like absolutely demolishing as the number 1 seed. Like the little things that you don't expect that you'll see at the tournament like this. But it was like for us having that all-star OC Wiffle Ball team out there with Dylan Hoffman, Ben Cotty Spotty, Stephen Hayden, Jordan Drexler, and Justin Lee out there for that team. It's fun. I mean, sure, the conditions were rough, but you know it's fun to bond with the other guys from the league and have some fun there. So we encourage you to go sign up for that tournament and see how you do. You know, why not, right?
Yeah, you have to challenge yourself in the different atmosphere. Things like that. So, or on June 3rd also, if anyone's not playing or wants to make the drive down to San Diego, we're having our summer 2023 beach series as a league, which we'll talk about more next week. But that's also the same day. So guys like me and Justin are not going to be able to play in this next tournament. I've been asked by a couple of guys already about playing, but I've told them I've got my commitments to OC Wiffle Ball. So. Maybe in the future.
Yeah, hopefully in the future. I'm sure they'll have more tournaments. I mean, OC Wiffle will have their summer tournament, which we'll talk about more as that time approaches. But yes, June 3rd, OC Wiffle is having that big San Diego event down in downtown area, playing some games, and then going to the Padres game, which is crazy. We'll have more details about that later, but if you're looking to buy tickets, they're already sold out. They sold out within less than 2 days. which is crazy.
Yeah, if you're looking for tickets, yeah, they're not available. Yeah, thanks, Justin.
Yeah, they're not available. But I mean, if you still want to make the drive down, I'm sure there's still tickets available. Maybe we can get you guys into wherever we're going. I have no idea what the details are exactly. But those tickets that were on the OC Football's page are now completely sold out. But if you want to make it out, email Anthony and ask, maybe he'll figure out something for you guys. But we love to see. I mean, there was a lot of tickets that were available, and they just went like that. So
yeah, they all went pretty quickly. I believe it looks like we have possibly maybe we'll figure that out more as we go. We'll talk about it more next week and things like that. But hopefully there'll be a good turnout for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you? I was looking at my notes here. Did you have a segment you wanted to talk about earlier, like a surprise thing?
We can do that for another day. It's one of those that didn't have to happen this week. With the time, we still got to talk about these next week games and stuff like that. I think it's something we could save for another week.
Okay, well, tune into episode 8 if you want to see what Steven's surprise will be. Anyways, yes, let's move on to our preview of this week's games. Tomorrow, let's start off with the first game of the day: the Brothers of Bash and Wiffle D's. Let's give a preview of every single game and talk about what we could potentially see.
Yeah, I'll try to rattle through these quickly. Brothers of Bash with both the Knicks doing a lot of grunt work, hitting and pitching. I believe they're going to come up with a victory over the Trash Pandas. Trash Pandas have been hitting well. But I believe the Brothers of Bash are going to be able to come out with their second win, move up to 2-2 on the year. So at this point,
yeah. And then second game of the day, we got the Ellie Wilson OC 3-1 versus Whoosh. We talked about it earlier. Former Ellie Wilson OC players playing against the revamped Ellie Wilson OC, reigning champions from a season ago. We're playing against a lot of familiar faces, so it'll be fun. Kind of a reunion for a lot of us, so it should be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's good to see players. I mean, I'm not mad at all that these players have left my team to go. I mean, this team was already kind of established, and then they just had a lot of those people. A lot of them are friends outside of football. They go do other events, things and just hang out together and things like that. I do need some compensation though, but we like to see I like to think that I've done a good job in having the people that have been on my team stick around and continue to want to play. I even a guy like Ryan Miller who eventually became a board member as well. Hopefully I've done a good enough job in keep piquing their interest and keeping them around the league and things like that. But I don't think they're winning this game. I think the other OC are going to win this one. Last time they played in the spring, it was 15-2. I don't think it'll be that kind of score line, but I can see the OC putting up a good number of runs and then Whoosh being held up to maybe like 3-4 runs max. So, but we'll see what happens. The addition of Nick will easily adds a couple more runs to a team. So I could see them getting up to 5 runs, but I believe the other OC are gonna win this game.
Honestly, I think it's gonna be close just because of the familiarity of both of these teams and the competing with former teammates and stuff like that. Especially for guys like Nick Youssef who are playing pretty lights out right now. But I personally think it's gonna be a close game. So we'll see. Moving on, we got the Bad News Dingers taking on Angel Hernandez Strike Zone, looking for that second win on the year for their team.
Yeah, this one, I believe it could go either way. I've got the Bad News Dingers winning, but it wouldn't shock me if Angel Hernandez Strike Zone got the win here. They now have some confidence. They had a walk-off win. They struggled against Whoosh, but I believe they can get some runs against the Bad News Dingers, or at least keep it to be a close game. I got a very close game, and I think the Bad News Dingers are going to pull out with the victory here.
Okay. I'm going to go with the underdog. Let's go with the Angel Hernandez Strike Zone. Give me that second win of the year for Angel Hernandez Strike Zone. Even though I know the odds are a little bit against them on this one, but yeah, we'll see. moving on to our 725 slot, we've got the Avocados, who are at 2-2 currently, and taking on Whoosh, who's going to have their second game of the day. So they're playing a doubleheader against the Avocados.
Yeah, as we mentioned earlier, the Whoosh have had a very tough schedule to start off the year. Four of their first five opponents are top five teams. Actually probably four of the first six, I should say, including these two matchups here. Avocados are able to hit a lot. I think it's going to be a very high scoring game. For me, it kind of depends on if the Avocados have all their players, have both their pitchers and things like that. Because they can hold teams to a few number of runs. You know, they've held the Whiffles of OC in the past to 4 runs in a game. But I believe Whoosh is going to win this one. Being the home team, I think they're going to win on a walk-off hit, possibly from Nick Yusoff. So I'm predicting a very close game between those two. But I'm taking Whoosh.
I think I agree with you on that one. I think it's going to be a shootout between these two teams because they both give up a lot of runs and they both have pretty good high-powered offenses. So this will be interesting to keep an eye on. If you want to see some entertaining fireworks out in, I believe this is left field they're going to be playing at.
Yeah, it'll just be out as Donald pitched that day. I know sometimes he has something more of a straight pitch. Is he able to keep them off balance in terms of hitting the zone, missing the zone, and are Avocados going to chase? So that's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, absolutely. So keep an eye out for that one if you want to see some entertaining hits. Moving on, we got the Beach City Bombers at the 3 seed taking on Wiffle D's at 1-3.
I mean, Beach City Bombers, they just won a game 14-0 versus the number 6 seed. I can't see them losing this one. I think there are only going to be a handful of teams that the Beach City Bombers will lose to this year. And one of those teams I already beat this year, actually, in the LA Whiffles of OC. But I got the Beach City Bombers winning this one. I think Wiffle D's are starting to figure it out. They had a good battle with us. I mean, if it weren't for that first inning, it would have possibly been a closer game. But Wiffle D's do have some talent. Do have some talent on there. They've had a lot of pitching from Chris Garza, who's done all right for them. 11 innings, 18 runs, 13 strikeouts. Once they get the pitching aspect down better, I think they can be a playoff team. But for this week, I'm taking the Beach City Bombers.
Yeah, I take them too. Just from what we've seen from their team being, I mean, as long as they have the Moore brothers, they're gonna be fine. Wiffle D's has really good talent. I just don't think they're gonna be able to keep up with the Beach City Bombers offense because along with that really good pitching that they've got. So it's gonna be a tough game either way for Wiffle D's. But they'll move on to the next week. Obviously, there's plenty of weeks to go, so any adjustments they can make. And playing against a pretty good experienced team will obviously help them learn, what it is to play against like a really tough team like that. But moving on, we got the second game for the LA Whiffles of OC taking on the Brothers of Bash. This is a rematch of the divisional game from a season ago.
It is, yeah, and that divisional game ended up being at one point it was 9-3, it ended up being 9-8. Obviously the LA Whiffles of OC started their World Series championship run. That started off with a game between these two teams. A couple additions for each team in that time. Dylan Menji has been added to the team for the LA Whiffles of OC, and Nick Hedges has been added full time to the Brothers of Bash, who's been a good pitcher for them. Mm-hmm. Dylan Menchie does have a 500 on base percentage for the team, which is third on the team. But I believe Steven and Jordan are gonna be hot off their first game versus Whoosh, and I believe they're gonna be hot against Brothers of Bash, who they had success on in the regular season in the playoffs last year, and they're gonna come away with the win and move up to 5-1 on the year.
All right, well you heard it here first, people. Now moving on, this may be our most competitive game of the day.
You don't have a prediction for that game?
Do you want me to predict?
Wow, do you think we're losing this one too?
I don't think we're losing this one. I never said we were losing the first one.
I'm talking about the World Series, but all right.
Oh, the World Series. Well,
we're going back to that.
We already know how that went, so we don't need to talk about that. We can talk about that next World Series if that comes around at some point. Another
We
conversation
could.
to have later. Well, you're 1-0, so what do you want from me? You want cash? I
I,
got
I just
nothing.
want to know I just want to know your prediction for this week.
Oh,
That's
I'm
all.
taking us, of course. I mean, you have to. We're representing our team, so.
Are you choosing? Is this going to be closer than the our game versus Whoosh or?
Oh man, I mean, that divisional game, like they had Brothers of Match had 3 guys, and they nearly beat us. So, I mean, as long as they have Nick Agarusa and Nick Hedges, I still think it's going to be somewhat close, but maybe not as close as I think it's going to be.
All
So,
right, gotcha.
yeah, there it is. You happy?
I just want to know your prediction, man. We're good. We're good.
No, I know.
I think we all hostile on me.
Personal attack. Anyways, now we've got the most competitive game on this schedule: the MS Warriors taking on the Beach City Bombers at the 3 seed, and the taking on the undefeated number 1 seed at the very top of this list.
Yeah, for me, for me, this is the game of the week right here. This is gonna help determine a lot. We've seen the success from the Beach City Bombers pitching. Is it going to be able to slow down the one of the top offenses in the league? So far, the MS Warriors have the second best run differential, just one off of the Purple Huskies. Which, by the way, their run differential is a +55. I mean, you have the top four teams all have a positive run differential, and then 5 through 12 all have a negative run differential, which is kind of nuts because you have teams like the MS Warriors and Purple Huskies at +55 and 56, and then the Beach City Bombers and LA Wolves of OC at +22, which is kind of ridiculous to think about. Those are also the only 4 teams with a winning overall records. So I guess we can't be too surprised at that.
I mean, they played some of the newer teams earlier in the year too, so they were able to like run up that run differential pretty well.
Wow, are you saying the other teams are stat padding?
No. I'm not discounting them.
Wow,
saying,
I think you're discounting them.
But look at the stat sheet. Like, I mean, it's there's a lot of really big numbers on there. I mean, if you remember some of the schedule from before, I mean, they played some teams who are still learning the process, obviously, but they played some pretty competitive teams as well, and they've been able to put up a ton of runs against them, and like especially the Purple Huskies. I mean, how can you discount them? I mean, they have like literally 3 of the best players in the league on that roster, and not discounting you or Jordan, but like that team is stacked, 100%. And MS Warriors, we thought it might be a little bit of a down season since Hayden switched over to the other team, but Dylan Hoffman's holding down the fort. Kyle Froome is doing great as always. Garrett Munoz is doing also really good. Joey Ponder is a big surprise on that roster. Either way, if you keep looking at it, it doesn't matter how you want to see it, but from a season ago, it's a lot different than what it was.
He's improved a lot. He's improved a lot this year. It's been big for them, especially as a secondary pitcher. He doesn't have the greatest numbers pitching. He's got 6 innings, 11 earned runs, 5 strikeouts, but it's good that those earned runs are not up too much. I mean, especially when a guy like Dylan is pitching 20 innings and only allowing 2 runs on the whole year with a .6 ERA. But overall, I think I got the MS Warriors winning this one. I believe it'll probably be like somewhere between a 4 and 7 run game. The MS Warriors have a 579 on base percentage. I don't think they'll be able to do that well, but I think they'll be able to. I believe they're one of those guys they're going to be able to pick out, and they're going to be able to get to score some runs, either being Zach or Tyler. And then the big thing is how's Joey going to do. But overall, I got the MS Warriors moving up to 6-0 so far.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest question is about in terms of the longevity of Dylan in that game, because until you get to Joey Ponder, who has pitched 6 innings with 6 strikeouts, but holds a 11 ERA. So Dylan's really been the one that's holding those stats in check for them. So it depends on the longevity. And I mean, for Moore and for Tyler and Zach, I mean their numbers are really good too. So it's gonna be hard to get through those guys, but they aren't swing and miss. They are hittable pitchers if you're able to get around it. And we've seen Garrett, Kyle, Joey, and Dylan hit off really good pitching. So I think it's gonna be a pitcher's duel either way. It just kind of comes down to those last few innings and see what the situation is gonna be once if Dylan decide or if when they switch out Dylan, or if Tyler and Zach get into a situation where they have to kind of figure out around that tough offense that they're facing. Moving on, we got the Goat Hill pitchers, Anthony's team, taking on the Trash Pandas, who are at 1-4.
Yeah, the Goat Hill pitches with Anthony. They've been able to bounce back. They had a good win versus Whoosh last week. Kind of a big one in terms of getting their season started. Going up against the Trash Pandas. Unfortunately, they lost their game last week on a walk in a very close game to Angel Hernandez strike zone, which unfortunately puts them down to the last place right now. I believe this is going to be a very close game. Both teams can hit the ball when necessary, but with some good pitching, it can be scary. It can be scary for them. But for this game, I'm going to go with the experience. I'm going to go with Anthony and Matt to do well. I think Anthony's going to have a breakout day in terms of hitting. Excuse me. I think Anthony's going to have a great good day, just a breakout day in terms of hitting. Like Matt be able to back him up. I think Anthony's just kind of have a complete performance, pitching 4 innings and pitching well against them. Might give up a couple runs here and there, but I think he'll do well versus the Trash Pandas.
I think this is also going to be one of those shootout games too, especially looking at the Trash Pandas, who have pretty good even amount of hitting stats between every single player on that team, and that also includes the Go Hill pitchers as well, who have some pretty interesting batting stats. I mean, it's more Anthony, Matt, and Lauren on that line right now who are doing pretty good. We saw Shelby come in a few times, but they've been there's been some ins and outs on that roster a little bit, but I still think this is going to be a pretty close shootout. I'm going to go with the Trash Pandas for this one, just because I feel like they're a team who has a really good ceiling for the potential, because there are a lot of former baseball players on that team, and I think they figure it out, gets those consistent hits in, and literally just run up that board with singles, doubles, and just hits off of these guys. I still think it's gonna be a shootout, but I still think Trash Pandas are gonna come out on top on this one.
All right, interesting pick. He's trying to make the show interesting, guys.
I am. I always am trying to make this show interesting. I can't take the same one as you, and I can't. It's hard to pick your own team sometimes, because for the sake of the show, you got to be differential. You know what I'm saying?
Are we doing this again? Is it? Let's pose a question here. If someone predicts something correct for themselves, is it indifferential? Is it biased?
I mean, it depends on the situation, right?
Okay, I'll give you a situation here. Someone predicted the World Series winner correctly, but it was his own team. Is that indifferential or biased?
I think if you put the word out there and you do what you say you put your word out there, then you're 100% correct all the way. So there you go.
I just had to make sure on that.
For me personally, if I'm gonna be honest, maybe a little bit worried because we had to play the number 1 seed for that playoffs, but hey, we made it, right? So who would have thought, right? And here we are, standing as reigning champs for LAFC OC and fighting for another World Series spot again. So we'll see as soon as we make our predictions for the playoffs, which are going to come up in pretty fast.
Yeah, and of June.
Yeah, it's going to come up really quick. Now, our final game of the day, we've got the Purple Huskies, who are also undefeated, taking on the Avocabros, who are currently at the 5 seed.
Yeah, to me, I think this is the second best game of the day. I think that 8:25 matchup is going to have 2 really good games going on. The Purple Huskies being undefeated so far, having the best run differential in the league, scoring 69 runs and only allowing 13 so far. Second in the league in terms of allowing runs and things like that. I think they're gonna. They're playing against a good Avocados team, who are able to score a lot of runs. They're third in runs scored, but they're also they're also fourth to last, which would be ninth in runs allowed. They've allowed a lot of runs this year, but they play a lot of shootouts. And keep in mind that those 51 runs, that includes one game which they only scored one run. So among those other three games, they scored 50 runs. But I believe the Purple Huskies are going to hold them to a low score, and I believe the somewhat handily. But I can't see the Huskies losing until they play a team like the Other Wolves of OC or the MS Warriors.
Yeah, it's just hard to kind of picture, the Purple Huskies losing with the amount of talent that they have on that team, and looking at the Avocados stats, like you said, giving up the fourth worst in terms of runs allowed. So it just comes down to whether if the Avocados can keep up with the bats against the Purple Huskies. But I think ultimately the Purple Huskies might run away with this thing for this game. So, but it's still going to be interesting. Don't take that away from this game. But
yeah, I think there'll be a good number of runs scored, but I just don't think it's going to be as many as people think. Sometimes you have the in NFL, you see the two best offenses play against each other, and sometimes the game just doesn't live up to the hype. I'm thinking like the 2018 Super Bowl when you had the Patriots and the Rams playing against each other, and then end up being a 13-3 game. So I think it could end up. I think it won't be that dramatic, but I think it'll end up somewhere around there.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about like one of the best offenses of that season, and then completely being stouted by a New England Patriots defense and coming away with a big win, just imposing their will against a guy like Jared Goff. But that's another story for another time. But I like that.
That's another sport.
Yeah, that's another sport, completely different. But yeah, we've seen it before. So anything can happen. We're just coming to the very close of our program here. I think we covered pretty much everything, unless there's something else you wanted to mention before we decide to close out here.
No, I think we can keep this one somewhat short. Run a little behind on schedule, but we'll try to get these back out on Sundays for you guys when it comes around. Next week we'll hopefully have some sort of interview. I'll be organizing that one. So I'll be figuring that out pretty soon. Other than that, I think we just keep it relatively short. I know you both of us are busy with school and things like that, coming up to finals and things like that. So I think I'm unless you got anything to add, we already talked about the SoCal wiffle ball and things like that, and next week we'll talk a lot more about the beach games and things like that, and what kind of to expect for that week. So.
Yeah, absolutely, and we'll see what the end results come from. This schedule of games that we've got. So a lot of interesting ones to keep an eye out for. But of course, it's always going to be an entertaining week. Keep an eye out for those polls. Hey, if you're not following Hunky Dory Sports Show Instagram, go right now. Gonna put up a poll here pretty soon, and then I'm gonna give Steven some of those details, and so he can put some stuff up for the wiffle ball as well. But yeah. We'll try to get some more interviews, get those videos out, rolling out to you guys. And I have another big surprise. I will be vlogging the San Diego series on June 3rd. So as soon as that is being edited and put together, then I'll give you a date when that should be up, and should be interesting to look out for. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, get to... we've had a couple beach experiences in the past. Nothing as dramatic as San Diego, but stuff like going down to Newport Beach and things like that. But we've been looking to start more of the video production for the games, possibly record some games and put have some editing and stuff and put it out there. And I think that's something we're going to be looking to do in the future. This is one of the ways to start that off.
Yeah, Steven knows my history with vlogging. especially from older days. So it'd be good to get back into the flow of that with all this content coming out. So yeah, trying to do some more this summer with a lot of things since I know I have more time. I know you probably have a little bit more time on your hands. But I mean, we're obviously gonna have our hands full with other stuff coming up here. But yeah, a lot of things to look forward to. So I think we're pretty good to wrap things up here. If you are.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good here. We got stuff lined up for next week. So.
All right, very cool. Well, if you don't follow the Hunky Door Sports Show YouTube, go ahead and click that subscribe button, hit that like button, and set a comment if you would like about anything about the show. We'd love to hear your feedback, and we'd love to see the amount of people who are supporting and watching the show, especially. But if you don't follow the Hunky Door Sports Show Instagram or the OC Wiffleball account, go follow that right now. But we'll see you guys in the next episode. This has been episode 7 of That Scuffed Up. We will see you guys in a week. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
Bye.